Great. I am so excited for this session this morning. We have an amazing guest on with us. Her name is Michelle Ryan, owner of J. Michael Salon in Des Moines, Iowa. Her and her team had invited us into their space to host a concealed class, and we absolutely fell in love with Michelle as an owner, how she worked with her leadership team, worked with her salon team, and really cultivated a community, but also keeping goal setting in mind. So I'm so excited for her to come on and talk about boosting your earning potential through the Summit Salon system and everything that she's done as a leader, partnering with her team to really create this amazing space where stylists can thrive and also feel heard and seen as well. So, Michelle, I'd love for you to jump in and introduce yourself a little bit.
Good morning, everybody, or I guess afternoon, depending on where you're at in the country. I am Michelle Ryan, and I'm the salon owner of J. Michael Salon. We're located in Des Moines, Iowa, which is essentially like the heart of Iowa, so right smack dab in the middle. J. Michael's has been opened for 11 and a half years. We were 11 years this past May, so it's definitely been a ride of many feelings and emotions, but I'm excited to share all that we're going to share today. So, yeah.
I'd love to hear a little bit more about you. Like, describe your journey as a behind the chair stylist, and then what was your turning point from owning your own salon as it wasn't one of your goals to where you are now?
Yeah. So, my journey, I would just say overall in the hair industry was I was somebody that I had worked in a salon since I was 16. So essentially I've been like in the industry for 30 years, which is crazy this year. I Hair was something that I always loved just because I was inspired, as I was working in the salon, but I was one that was told like there's no money in it. Like, how are you going to sustain long term? Like, is it something you can really build a career out of? And so I did attend a 2-year university, Iowa State University. And then finally at the end of my sophomore year, I'm like, I just need to follow like where my heart is leading me, and decided to just take the leap of faith and jump into cosmetology school. And I want to tell the backstory on this because I think it leads up to where we are now. So I went to PCI, which is the Professional Cosmetology Institute in Ames, Iowa, and I was fortunate enough for my class to be one of the first classes in a cosmetology school that was Summit based. So they had brought the Summit program to us as students because they had salons throughout the US, more or less like Midwest based, I would say at first, that were, they're like, I think it would be really great if we had students that were comfortable with rebooking a guest, comfortable with like recommending retail, not selling retail, but recommending retail, as well as like comfortable how to build their own business. So essentially like the building blocks of just starting off a career in itself. That was something that I was like, when we got into it, Iowa was 2,100 hours at that point. So it was, like a year and a half long program. And we had one-on-ones with our educators, and just essentially kind of like the backbones of the business is what we were learning as students. And so I'm like, I love this. I love this. But I also knew at that point, I'm like, I fell in love with more of the business side. And I knew I did not want to be behind the chair for like long term, right? So when I graduated from cosmetology school, I did go to a Summit salon, and it was successful. I started working for Redken also at the time, and I was working with stylists. Just throughout, I would do like hair shows or classes in the area, and I fell in love with teaching. So I evolved into education, and then my long-term goal was consulting. So I consulted schools throughout the country that used a summit-based system. and I would coach the educators. The educators would go back and coach the students. And then I also worked with, like putting the curriculum together for advanced haircutting and advanced color. So with that being said, travel kind of got crazy. We had 36 academies throughout the US, and I wanted to be more of a on a more smaller scale. So I started consulting with Summit and working with salons. And this was, mind you, back in like 08, 09. And anybody can remember that's when like the housing market crashed and the economy wasn't the greatest then. And I was seeing salon owners that were behind the scenes, like their financials weren't the greatest. Salons were having walkouts, and I'm like, this is scary. This is scary. And so all in all, I say that because I learned then through that time, like if I ever would have a salon, like what not to do.
Yeah.
And or like the challenges were scary. I mean, it's hard to manage people, right? And the biggest thing that I learned was like when you have a business is you have to always meet people like where they're at. And one of the things that I can say, and I was just talking to my mentor and my consultant last week, and she said that, a lot of people, no matter what type of business it is, but they buy a job. And what that means is like they can be great at doing hair or they can be great at like cooking food, but the big part about it comes is like when it's time to like look beyond that. And like every great leader like always wants to know how to improve, right? So that's where I learned. I'm like, okay. So I had actually a former student of mine reach out, and she's like, would you ever consider opening a salon in Des Moines? And I was like, oh
I don't
yeah.
know about
I'm like,
that.
let's talk. So her salon had actually been through three owners in 6 years. And when we started talking more, and I knew just from my experience prior, I said, we can do this, but we got to do something different. I want to bring Summit to Des Moines.
Yeah.
And just because it's different, it works. I saw the success stories, and it is a career plan for not
Mhm.
only a salon owner or shareholders or a stylist or an esthetician or massage therapist, but it is a career plan, like a succession plan. So we did it. We opened J. Michael's 11 and a half years ago. And I think that I've worn many hats like in the industry, but this has been the wildest one of them all, per se.
Excellent. And
So
you've learned a lot in it too.
yes, for sure, for sure.
So how have you and your leadership team found success in those strategies? Like, where did you have to shift and make adjustments? Did you have to interject your own thought process into Summit Salon?
Both, honestly. So, I would say our biggest turn was after COVID, and we had a
Mhm.
shift in the company. I had four people that are now shareholders in my company, so they're now owners. And they all came to me and they're like, I believe in this. I believe in the vision, and our vision. My vision from day one has always been about like grow people, grow people, grow people. And not from like I want to grow people, but I believed in like what we were doing and what we are creating. And
Yeah.
it is different, right? And I think that Summit's for everybody, but from like a service provider is like this is something that you can build a career. So after COVID hit us, and we all know what that feels like and what happened, our company actually grew by 60%, and it was amazing. So we formed the leadership team. So I have four business partners now, and that are a part of the leadership team. And so we can go into more of that, or I can go into that now, Katina, if you want.
Yeah, And, we loved getting a
Yeah.
chance to be in your salon and really get to know each and every one of them and what departments they run and why it's important that your leadership team be able to lead inside the
Yes.
salon.
Yes. So I have four business partners. Obviously, I have myself. Anita. So Anita has done inventory for years and
Mhm.
she's got a great method to her madness. What she does is, so our leadership team was created essentially for the purpose of like, we created like four pillars of the company. So everyone is essentially responsible for their one pillar. No one is coming into the other pillar trying to micromanage anything. Anita focuses on, she does all of the back bar inventory every single week. She places the order, she receives the order. She puts it away. She also makes sure that we stay within budget every single week for that inventory. So she also helps with like recruitment and then speaking to new hires when they do come in.
Mhm.
Um, and then I have Janelle, who is my second business partner. And Janelle, which you guys know very, very well, so she is the director of social media and marketing. So she does all of our social content planning. Um, which is a whole big animal in itself, right? For like all of Instagram and Facebook and then Pinterest. And she also does like our email blast.
Yeah.
And then she also does like all of the internal graphics for the salon. So marketing that way. And then she manages and is like the big organizer of all of the covet and main hair that comes in and then is the go-to for all of our extension stylists. So we have 15 stylists that are certified in the concealed method. And then she's also an educator in the company as well. And then Adrienne. So Adrienne is she's the director of education. So she does we have an associate program that we that have done with Summit, but we've created it to like work within our company. So she created that program with the foundation of Summit. She does so she works with one-on-one with the educators. She does all of like the new hiring, like I would say contact information. Um, she does the educational planning and the calendar for the salon, and she is also involved in one-on-ones for all level 1, level 2, and level 3 stylists. And then we have Tina. So Tina is, Katina knows Tina very, very well.
Very well.
Uh, Tina is the general manager of J. Michael Salon. So she essentially like oversees all of like operations. She works with like all the guest relations, the employee relations, including like benefits. She's also involved in one-on-ones with me as well every single month and does all of the retail ordering. And then she oversees the front desk as well, which we have Ashlyn, who now is our lead front desk floor manager. So essentially it's worked really, really great because everyone stays in their own lane. We meet monthly and we go over numbers. We go over, it's awesome because we talk about like what's working and the little bit we might talk about like what's not working and how we need to tweak it per se to just continue to improve like every single month. So
Mhm. And I also think it's important to mention that of the five, three of them are behind the chair full time as
yes.
well.
Yep. Three of Anita, Adrienne, and Janelle are all behind the chair full time, and our full time schedule is 30 hours a week. So they have those responsibilities outside of the chair, which is, it's a lot to put on their plate as well. But um, what's been beautiful is like how that's worked out like throughout the day, and they do have like office hours where we can just sit down and do one-on-one planning every single week, so that's been helpful too.
And I think that kind of leads into our next topic, really diving into the Summit Salon pathway and that unique balance of recruitment and community and goal setting that has helped your salon thrive through COVID to now.
Yeah, yeah. So I when we do recruitment is that comes like into education, marketing. Anita's a part of that. Tina and I have come back more into that the last interview, I would say, because culture is like our biggest thing. And we talk about this from a leadership standpoint, like all of the time. Like, if we hire, we want our culture to stay like consistent and we don't want it to be messy. We don't want the team that we currently have to feel like ripples, that don't need to be felt or that can be avoided. So we have, and I am so passionate about this, but how I have always recruited has been from Summit. So I would say the biggest, and I can talk about more of this later, but the biggest thing with Summit is like we can go into a school and say that, you can have a salon, but then also like having a salon company. There's like two different mindsets, right? So we know we can teach anybody to do good hair, but what we want to attract as people is like kind people. We will work with you forever and always to how to get that great balayage, how to get those great extensions, how to do like that pixie cut. But the one thing is like being kind and respectful and just genuine people. So with that being said, we can go into a school or we just had an industry night this past June. January's coming up. Uh,
Yes.
that where we can say like as a level 1 stylist, this is your earning potential. As a level 2 stylist, this is your earning potential. And I've recruited honestly everybody since May 13th of 2013
Wow.
from that standpoint. And that is where um, people like they know, and it's about like accountability and consistency. And we can tell them like this could be a 2-year path, this could be an 8-year path, this could be a 20-year path, and it's up to them at the end of the day. So um from recruitment, from like a leadership perspective, I think where it's changed is we do a lot behind the scenes, but also everybody also like owns their role and everybody respects their role like within the company. So there's a lot that goes into having a business behind the
Mhm.
scenes that is not seen like every single day in the salon, right? So we work really, really hard on being proactive and
Mhm.
not necessarily like reactive in a situation, which you have to do sometimes every day. But at the end of the day, like our like vision, like minded, is just about like growing people. So
That's amazing. And who would you say this system is designed for? Like your commission salon, booth rent, is it everyone?
yeah, so Summit has been built for like every facet of the industry. Like I said, whether you're an SD or a stylist or massage therapist, there is like a plan for every single person. 90% of Summit is like employee-based organizations. So I would say commission salons. I worked before too, where some salons were hybrid too, where they
Mhm.
employees and independent stylists. I did see some independent stylists go back over to commission because of, like all the things that don't come along with like, the independent world. Um, but also, I mean, it can be for everybody. It's just like meeting people where they're at the
Mhm.
end of the day.
And how do you set up the goals for your stylist? I know you were mentioning level one, you have the potential for this, level two, but what does that look like?
Yeah, so that's a great question because I think that's where everyone's like,
Yeah,
you
let's
know,
talk some numbers.
with when it comes to goals. So there's 3 goals that every single service provider is required to meet every single month, and that is a daily service goal, a pre-book goal, and then a retail unit goal. So retail units mean in our company it could be a travel size, it could be a hot tool, shampoo, conditioner, whatever it may be, it's just a unit. So if a stylist would have 10 guests, it's at level 1, it's 0.5 units. So 5 items is what that would be equivalent to. Honestly, it's based off like your demographics and Summit helps with setting that up. So like how it looks for J. Michaels, it might be different for a salon that's 30 minutes from us, you know, because it's based off like what our pricing level is. So that's something that the Summit consultant helps set up. But how a service provider goes being promoted from a level 1 to a level 2 is they just need to maintain those goals for 3 months in a row. So
Mhm.
once they jump from level 1 to level 2, they get a price increase as well as an increase in commission. So um, in my salon company in particular, when a stylist goes from level 1 to level 2, it's about a 17, 18,000 dollars raise to themselves when they are promoted from that point. And that's a really, really cool part is like we can show them what that looks like, you know.
Mhm.
So and the purpose of having 3 months in a row is just to create that consistency. So it's not like you have a great month, low month, you know, and not only that, but like for guests too. So some stylists can do it, can be promoted faster. Some stylists want to have more of like a longer journey, and that's okay. And that's where Tina and I and Adrian, it's like, what does success look like to you? How do you want to be coached? Because you know, we've had some stylists where they're like, I want to just like make sure everything's just okay and going and flowing. And then we've had stylists that want to grow faster. And that's the beautiful part about that.
And I think you mentioned it before, there's a piece of people management. Not every stylist is the same. So
Right.
you have to find intention in each person that you talk to.
Correct. And that's the cool part too on I think that I love the most is that it's sometimes it's not, you know, if someone is having a bad month, it may not even be anything to do with the salon. It could be something going on personally. And it's like coaching people and talking them through that, right? And we don't have all the answers, but sometimes it just feels good to talk to somebody that hopefully they trust, you know, most of their life or one of the people that they trust the most. And so, but at the end of the day, like it has to be, I feel, and what, you know, where our story has gone and isn't going is it, you have to have that, it's not about the numbers all the time. It's not about the money, but if you create that right culture and you're organized and you have all of the things set up, like it will come. It will come.
Yeah. So I'd love to ask about your one-on-ones. What does that look like for your stylist? How often do you do those?
Yes. So currently we do one-on-ones every single month. So Adrian is with like I said, the new hires, like the associates, level 1 and level 2s, and some level 3s in our company. Tina and I are with every single person, like in our company, and that's 30 minutes every single month. So, like I said, sometimes it's about, we've had stylists that are like, I want to pay this credit card off. And then we do like financial coaching, or they want to build or like buy a house, like down payment, or like their car or something like that, right? So that could be like a conversation because I think when you are building people personally, like it's going to show in their professional life or vice versa. Sometimes it's about it could be about like their sales are super, super, super good, right?
Mhm.
But their pre-books may be low and their retail units low. So it's about like coaching or just finding out like is it more of like they need some new verbiage, or is it like how to improve like social media, or it's really about honestly like what they want and where they see
Yeah.
where it's at.
It's a great way to check in and make sure they're hitting their goals, one, but if there's changes that need to be made, you have the
Yeah.
opportunity month to month to do that.
Right. And you know, hard conversations don't have to be hard too. I think sometimes we make them harder in our own head, and I do this all the time, than what they need to be. But you know, even if it's like asking like how are you, I think is a
Mhm.
really great question too. So
Before we move into our next topic, how many levels are in your salon?
We currently have we currently have 6 levels, but we've had to extend it to level 7 and level 8 because our team is just growing like crazy. So, but our highest stylist right now is a level 6 stylist in our company. And I will say too, so we have 4 educators in our company, 5. One's Grace is going to be having a baby here like in the next couple of weeks, but the educators do meet with their new hires every single morning prior to their shift at like at least 20-30 minutes before. So that's been, I think, really great. And it's talking about like where the educator is at for the day. So the educators will give their associate like a daily goal. And it's a tip-based system too, where like if they hit their retail goal, they hit their service goal, then the associate is also tipped out, which is in addition to their hourly compensation that they get. Or Erica Holiday, who's an educator in our company, she is like queen of balayage. And she came in like an hour before a shift and then taught that balayage class to 2 of our associates currently. So there's constantly like a lot of education or one-on-ones that are just happening all the time. So
A lot of collaboration in there.
yes, yes.
So for a salon owner that's heard about Summit, interested in bringing it into their salon, can you tell them how you measure success?
Yes. So so right now, actually, well, come November, we will set up all of our goals for 2025, and that would be a service goal and our retail goal. Um, but I think more importantly, as we go over like when we talk about like measuring, so we have a very, very, very strict budget. So we know exactly like what our payroll budget needs to be, like what our inventory needs to be, like percentage wise, like what we need, like where our rent needs to be, like falling in that. So that's something that we visit every single quarter on, are we high, are we low, are we right on?
Mhm.
Um, and then we'll set up our sales for 2025, and we do that with my consultant. And then from on a monthly standpoint is the leadership team and I, we have a leadership portal that actually like we input all of our numbers on. We go over like where we're at. Are we above? Are we below? Are we right at? And then we go over like all of our tasks that we need to do for the month that's to come. And
Mhm.
then there's things that we just discuss and solve that are upcoming too. So it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
I think the part where I'm at, like as a salon owner, and this is what I always envisioned, is like I am just like leading my leadership team to lead the rest of the team. And we're getting to that point where I'm able to do that more now, rather than all the day-to-day operations, because we have that team built for that.
And what does your relationship look like with your consultant? Like, how does that process work?
Yes. So I will say that for me personally, I have always, always, always like stayed connected to the people that have mentored me the most, and like in the industry. One of them, 2 of them actually were educators like when I was in cosmetology school, and they are the ones that started the consulting company for the Summit schools that were in the country at the time. And then Heather Bagby, she's actually the vice president of Summit. She is one that I called after COVID, and I was like, I need help. I need
Oh.
help. You know, she kind of like talks me off the ledge, and it's like facts over feelings. It's okay, breathe. So that my relationship, I think like at this point, we even said this, she's like, Michelle, at this point, like you don't need Summit to be successful. And I know that, you know, because I've used Summit essentially since I was a student, so for 24 years. But
Mhm.
I love Summit because I know it keeps myself accountable and my service providers accountable, and then my leadership team accountable. And not only that, but it helps with like conversations and future planning and know exactly where we're going. Uh,
Mhm.
so Heather really comes in with now quarterly for us. I would say at first is like with a consultant, it could be it could be monthly consulting, it could be virtual or in person. And then it's really about like where a salon wants to take like their company in general. So
Mhm.
it's kind of a loaded question, but it's really like customizable to the
What you're
company
trying to
in
do.
itself. Yes, yes.
And I love what you said, fact over feeling.
I know, I know.
That's
Yes.
big. So
Sometimes
what,
I use it in my personal life and I probably shouldn't because they're like, we need emotion a little bit, to be honest. But yeah,
at
yeah,
the end of it, it is a business. You are running a company. So there's certain things that you need to know. The numbers need to be there. The support needs to be there to make it successful, not only for you and your leadership team, but for the stylists that work within the salon.
correct, correct. Yes, no,
Mhm.
for sure, for sure.
And what advice would you give a salon owner who wants to implement this program and their team?
I would say first and foremost, can I share my screen?
Of course.
Katrina? Okay, I'm gonna share my screen really quick. Is um right here. Can you all see that?
Yes, you can make it a little bigger if you like.
Okay, perfect. Is if somebody would be interested in Summit, I would recommend two things. I mean, honestly, is if you go to summitsalon.com, this is what the face page looks like. But you could, I would recommend like setting up a 30-minute discovery call. So what that would be is with that would be with one of the consultants.
Mhm.
And essentially like they just want to know about like where you're at like as a salon, where you want to go, and from there is they would help like create a plan, like a consulting plan for that, like for a salon in particular. That's one option. um Also, another option could be if you scroll down, like what Summit does offer is obviously like custom coaching. The Summit immersive experience would be like going to a summit. I believe it's a 2.5 day program now. It used to be, I think, like 3 full days, so they've condensed it. But this talks about like really, really, really like the bones of what Summit is. So it goes over like budget guidelines. Heather Bagby and Dave Kirby, which are two of the owners of Summit, they lead that program. But I mean, that's a really, really powerful thing. There are some Summit salons that have not been to this.
Mhm.
But that is something that I would definitely recommend, like future wise. But then there's also like live workshops. There's like online courses that you can also take, and then there's also like classes throughout the country. So if it's like a leadership course, or if it's like an AI course, they do like website building. We've worked with Kim Light, Janelle, and I have worked with Kim Light on like, um, how like our Instagram is and like the areas that we can improve. And then she actually just did a whole study on our back end, like our website and our social, on like the areas that could be improved. Is it like search engine keywords? So that when we did that, Janelle would have to remind me, like 5 years ago, that was a game changer for us, on like how we're bringing, because we don't market outside, honestly, of like social platforms. So that's been a big game changer for us. And then also, there's a lot of things, but I would encourage anybody who wants to know more. I'm always available for a phone call.
Yeah.
But to just like a call doesn't hurt, right? And I think um, if you are like I would say if you have a salon and you want to shift it more into like a company or a succession plan for like you as a salon owner to bring on shareholders. So what that is like my four shareholders are essentially like now have ownership within the salon. So they have obviously if the salon's profitable, they would have a profit sharing check. It could be quarterly, monthly, yearly, depending on how it's set up in a company.
Mhm.
But they're buying into the salon to have a bigger piece of it and carry on the vision. So that's what's really, really cool. Now, we've talked about like even in the future, like what's it look like for them? Like, what's the next generation of, stylists or service providers? Like, what are their goals? Could we have more shareholders? Yes. What does that look like and when? We don't know yet. So it's just building that, I guess, the career and the longevity of, truly what J. Michaels is about too, because um, don't want it to be around for just a few more years. And we want to share that piece of it of like, you can own a salon and be a part of a company that is successful,
Mhm.
with like-minded people.
Sure. And I think having that leadership team, it also helps you create that work-life balance. Because I know
Yes.
it's hard to do.
That's something that we promote big time, is like quality of life in the salon and quality of life like out of the salon. I've said that since day one. It's like you can do it on 30 hours and create a beautiful, successful life and enjoy your life like out of the salon. 30 hours is what our full time is. So, but you can do it on less. And we've even had stylists will be like, "Can I work more?" And I'm like, "You don't need
Oh,
to.
yeah. Right.
Enjoy life." So for sure.
Well, the Covet team, have loved watching you and your salon team. Even when Tafina and I were there, you were super inspirational, like it lit a fire in us. And just to know that your journey has been a long one, but there's been a lot of ups in it. And like you've also brought a lot of stylists up with you. And I think
Yeah.
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and there was a salon that I always, that they're about 30 minutes from us, and that how that was, they were like one of the first Summit salons years ago. I mean, we're talking like years. And I was like, that would be like my dream, and not for like myself, but like for other people. And
Mhm.
there's like no I in team. And when you have a team, it's just like everything, in my opinion, just feels so much more beautiful. And then when you can like share that and pass down the message, and um, it's not easy, but also nothing good is easy, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
What is one piece of advice that you would give to anyone that's interested in Summit Salon or chatting with you to take that next step in their journey?
I would say, I think if you're like curious, I'm always open for a conversation. I think in regards to, it depends. It depends on like, is it something that they want to like look at their like price level worksheet? Like, are their prices in line with
Mhm.
what they should be charging? From there, then it would be like creating like goals for your stylist, which would be like, what is your commission at? Like, how far can it go? And at J. Michaels, we do a price increase every year, or we have, because of cost of goods has gone up like twice last year, right? So we need to make sure like our pricing is in line with our budget. From there, it's like then we need to modify like our goals for our stylist. And then
Mhm.
um, from there, it's like everything else has to like fall in place. Are our commissions in line with like what our budget is? Are they, but that's, I mean, that's something that is, we are a high level, I would say we're a high commission salon. My company, our commissions start at 46% and they go up to 56%. So, but also with like how everything is on the back ends, like we're able to do that, right? So, and all of the other things, but a consultant would definitely help set somebody up with that. I would um I would say there's a lot of blind faith into going in it, but I will say this until like I'm blue in the face, like it works. It works. And like I said at the beginning, Katina, that many people when they do open a business is like, they buy a job, and it's going from like trying to shift your mindset from having a job to a career mentality, and there's so much more that goes into that. So I would just encourage to like set up the discovery call, and what to really think about like as a salon owner or as a stylist, like where they see themselves at in like 1 year. Do they want to stay in the same place, or do they want to like it's your
What are you
dreams.
looking
Like, what
for?
does that look like for you? And like, how can you create a path to go that way? And so I would think about that first. And then just honestly have a discovery call and the thing is too, we say this, like, we're not a salon for everybody, and
Right.
that's okay, right? Like, we've had stylists that do beautiful hair and they're like, we don't like the system. It's too much pressure, or we don't want to have numbers. And I'm like, that's okay.
Mhm.
That's okay. But also I'm confident to say like everybody knows like where we're going too. Did I answer that?
Oh yeah, no, that was
Yeah,
perfect.
okay. I'm like, I could talk forever about it. But I think at the end of the day, like, where are you, as a business owner, and where do you want to go? And they can definitely help you create that path. Sometimes I'm like little resistant, but that's when I'm like, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just gonna go with it. So
Mhm.
if you don't know, if you don't try, then you won't know.
Exactly. It's
Hmm.
like do it scared rather than not do it at all.
Do it scared, yes. And I held on to this when from something you said a while ago, Katina. You're like, when you're building the plane as you're flying it, that's scary, right? The parachute might not open and it might open, but if you're like, if you know exactly like where you're flying, then you'll get there.
Exactly. You'll land. It'll
Yeah,
be
you'll
good.
land. Yeah, you will land.
Is there anything you'd like to share before we go?
I mean, I don't think that there is. Like I said, like my office door is always open for a call. I think that no matter what it is that somebody needs, and I'm like, I don't consult for Summit. Someday I might go there again. I don't know, but I know I really, really, and there's a lot of programs out there that have like some sort of system, but
Mhm.
um I am very, very passionate about, just because I know that it works, and it's gotten me through the hardest of times. And it's like when you don't know where you're going or how you're going to get there, like there's always an answer.
Mhm.
I think too, from like a salon owners, like, when I was just a sole salon owner, it's a scary place to be, right? And um, the great part about forming a leadership team where it's at, when we got to that point when we were able to do that, is like, I can definitely do all of those responsibilities, but I'm not good at all of them. Like, Janelle's amazing
Exactly.
at social. Tina is compliments me on like organization. I always say like I'm the visionary. She's the executor, boots on the ground. Adrienne is so passionate about like education, and she leads it and brings something different than I do. And then, Anita just has like a method to her madness with inventory, and it is like to the T. So it's very freeing and very where I can just focus on like leading. So from
Yeah.
like a salon owner is like, that's the beautiful part of like when we're doing 100 things, because I used to say I'm a really, really great multitasker, but actually multitaskers probably only get about 20% of them because their mind's always somewhere else or on to the next thing. And then and so that's been it's just that mind shift,
Yeah.
and to build it, to pass it down, and my shareholders to build it and pass it down is like, to me, like that's where all the beauty is. So
Find what works for you. And like you said, it's not for everyone,
oh,
but
for sure. Hmm.
well, Michelle, I want to say thank you so much. Again, I'm always inspired when I talk to
Oh, I
you.
love
And I love the team and the culture that you've built and the work that's gone into it. So we'd love to have you back to talk more about this and dive into another covet session. But I'm super grateful that we had you on.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. And like, please share our information and then the summit salon afterwards. And then, like I said, even if, want to reach out to my shareholders, I mean, they're to just share their own experience. I mean, I know they would always be open for a conversation too with that.
So we will be sending out the replay for everyone so they'll have it. And then you'll see some highlights throughout the week, focusing on specific topics that Michelle spoke about. So if you have questions, if you want to get in touch with Michelle, please feel free to email education@covetandmain.com and we'd be happy to help.
Yeah, thank you.
You have a great rest of your Monday.
Yes. Bye, everybody.
Bye.